we're going to learn a little bit about Joseph. We're going to start journeying through his story. We're going to take the perspective of perseverance. But in perseverance, I want to kind of give you a personal example that if you can remember back to when you're in grade 8, maybe you're here and you're close to that grade, or you're watching and you're close to that grade, but maybe it's a few years we have to journey back. But when I was in grade 8, I remember I learned a very valuable lesson on perseverance. It was actually a season like now, and we were piling wood in a basement, and it was my friend's house. His dad basically said, hey, I got a bunch of wood, I got a couple cords, I want you to pile in here. It was all laid out in the basement in a pile, and as a grade 8 student that wasn't very tall to begin with, that pile was huge. And I was like, just me and my friend, and the dad said, okay, here's the pile, and he left. And I was like, well, what are you doing? Why are you leaving? And then I thought, oh, he's probably getting us pizza or something like that, and that's going to be great. Well, he didn't. That wasn't, I don't know why, he just left. And so I was like, okay, so me and my buddy, we got this. We're going to get this, and we're going to push through, and we're going to show that we can do this. We're strapping young grade 8 men, right? Muscles we just started seeing for the first time coming on our bodies. And we got this. And so we grab the wood. We start piling the wood. The wood gets higher and higher. We get past a cord. We're doing it. We're like, hey, we can find a way to do this really fast. You just grab, we just start throwing it, and it'll almost pile itself. This was not good because I did not have a lesson on how to pile wood. I touched, lots. I helped pile a lot of wood for my house and other people's houses, just what you did. But I didn't really know when left alone how to pile wood properly. Because if you don't know how to pile wood, it'll all come crumbling down. And so my buddy was grade 6, I'm grade 8. We're trying to pile. We get past a cord. Next thing you know, guess what happens? The dad shows up. The wood didn't fall over. It's okay. The dad shows up, and he looks at the wood pile, and he smirks, and I'm like, oh, he's smirking because we did a great job. No, he's smirking because he knows what he's about to do. And he reaches over, and he does what I call the test. Okay? If you pile wood, there's always a test. You put your hand on it, and you give it a little shimmy shake, and you see if the wood moves. And if the wood doesn't move, you piled it properly. And so he goes over, knowing exactly what was going to happen when he put us through the test. And so we're standing back, chest high, because we know he's smirking, and it's all good. And he puts his hand on the wood, gives it a little bit of push, and it comes crumbling down. Down, actually, so much so that it looked almost identical to when we started, when it was just a pile of wood on the ground. And our hearts broke. Because why would you do that? You don't have to push the wood. No, because he was teaching us a lesson. See, sometimes pain has to be part of the equation to learn a lesson. We're going to lean into Joseph. We're going to learn that little nugget here in a second. And so in my moment, perseverance, I learned something. Perseverance without purpose is not really good because you'll quit. But purpose, having that purpose, when you persevere, to persevere on purpose, it changes everything. To persevere with purpose changes everything, and here's why. Because if I knew he was going to push the wood at the beginning, guess what we would have done? We wouldn't have did it fast. We wouldn't have did it throwing and having as much fun as possible. We would have did it right, so it would have passed the test, right? Because if I knew the purpose of what we were doing, that would have been great. He had 2 dogs, and the dogs didn't want to, the wood fall on the dogs. So he knew all of this. We didn't, but we learned a very valuable lesson in perseverance. And so as I was going through the life of Joseph, I started asking that question, like, okay, why did he persevere? Why didn't Joseph just quit? Why didn't he just say, this is too hard? Oh, another situation? This is too hard. Why didn't Joseph quit? And I started learning that because he started persevering with purpose. He knew God had a plan, and he was part of that. And so he was able to persevere in that. So let me ask you this question. Can you think of a situation maybe where you had to persevere and you either did or you quit? And ask yourself, what made me make that decision? What made me persevere or what made me quit? Right? What does that to us? Well, it's the purpose. Why am I doing what I'm doing? We'll decide that. Actually, let's talk about perseverance for a little bit more here in a second to kind of get us set up. I love this quote. A river cuts down a rock not by power. A river cuts down a rock, not by power, but by perseverance. Over and over and over again. It can cut water. Water can cut a rock. It can smooth a stone because of perseverance. The definition of perseverance is to maintain a purpose in spite of difficulties, in spite of obstacles, and in spite of discouragement. Okay, to maintain a purpose. That's perseverance. So I want to journey with us. I want us to open up your Bibles if you have them with you, or on your phone, or online, wherever you have it, or I'm going to put it on the TV behind me, and we're going to journey through Genesis 37. It starts off verse 2. And it says this: Joseph, a young man of 17. Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. In my mind, somewhere along the lines, I'm thinking of a 32-year-old. I'm thinking of somebody older. I'm not thinking he's a 17-year-old. Joseph, 17? Actually, later in a few chapters, it says Joseph was well-built and handsome. I bet you didn't know that either. He was. Joseph, a young man, well-built, handsome, 17-year-old, was tending the flocks with his brothers, the son of Bilhah and the son of Zilpah, his father's wives, and he brought their father a bad report about them. Uh-oh. Now Israel loved Joseph more than any of his other sons because he had been born to him in his old age. If you've ever been around somebody that had a child that was a little bit older, you know what comes with that is just an abundance of joy that they were able to have a son or a daughter, to be able to have a child when maybe you weren't expecting to have that. And so Joseph's dad is already excited about Joseph. And because of that, he may go over the top. You know, if you go Christmas shopping and you get excited because a new baby comes in, and what do? You buy them a little extra stuff, right? But to some other siblings, they might say, why are you spoiling him? How come you didn't get me that, right? So jealousy is going to kick in here. We're going to see a little foreshadowing. And he made an ornate robe for him. Actually, when you start reading into it and you see different translations of how they said it, you know, it was embroidered robe. If it was in the 90s and 2000, it was bedazzled robe, okay? It was amazing. And he made it. I mean, there's not many people left that are making robes today, okay? Everybody used to quilt and stuff, and we still have some people in this church that does that. Please don't stop, okay? But this guy, Joseph's dad, says, I'm going to make him, and I'm going to make it beautiful. Because out of the love and the joy he had, but what starts happening is we see the results of that. When his brothers saw that their father loved him more than any of them, they hated him and could not speak a kind word to him. That is unfortunate. Joseph had a dream, and when he told it to his brothers, the brothers that we just read hate him, won't speak a kind word to him, okay? He tells his brothers, they hated him all the more. He said to them, listen to this dream I had. Now, if we pause for a second and we realize, okay, Joseph isn't liked by his brothers. Joseph is either going to, one, know that he's not going to be liked by his brothers and just kind of stop. Or he's going to try to earn their favor. Or he's going to try to rub it in their face any chance he has, okay? Depends on how he does this. So Joseph chooses that he has this dream. He's going, okay, what is with this dream? So I'm going to tell somebody, I'm going to tell my brothers. But it almost sounds like he's rubbing it in their face a little bit. Listen to this dream I had. We were binding sheaves of grain out in the field when suddenly my sheaf rose and stood upright, while your sheaves gathered around mine and bowed down to it. Uh-oh. You could just see if they hate Joseph and they won't say a kind word to Joseph. Now you're saying, okay, so in your dream, your sheaf rises up, the other ones bow down to it. His brothers aren't dumb, so they quickly go, do you intend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more. Okay, now we are 3 levels deep in hate from what we've read. One, you have a brother here, Joseph, that has this special robe that is their father made, okay? So they don't like him. Then he has a dream, okay? It's just getting worse. And so, do you tend to reign over us? Will you actually rule us? And they hated him all the more because of his dream and what he had said. Then he has another dream. Another dream. So, in this dream, he says, listen, I had another dream. And this time, the sun, it gets bigger. The dream just gets bigger. The sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down. And before we saw the sheaves rise up and bow down to it, okay? Now the dream is getting a little more personal where they don't have to interpret that. Because it says, and the sun and the moon and 11 stars were bowing down to me. Okay, now they don't have to interpret. When he told his father as well, so it wasn't enough just to tell your brothers and get them all bothered. Now he says, Dad, 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 this is what happened. This is my dream. If I had that dream, I'd be like, what does this mean? This is exciting. But his father rebuked him. The father that loved him so much that it made that robe, he rebuked him and said, what is this dream you had? Will your mother and I and your brothers actually come and bow down to the ground before you? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're saying? His brothers were jealous. So it was hatred, and now hatred has moved to jealousy. It's one thing to hate people, right? It's not good. It's not good. But you can keep hatred kind of locked under a key. You can say, that bothers me. But when hatred turns into jealousy, jealousy starts clouding the mind. Jealousy starts making us want to do and put action to the hatred. And so this is a bit of foreshadowing of what's to come. But his father kept the matter in his mind. He said, I'm not going to forget this dream. I'm not going to forget what we just did, but I'm going to move on with my day, but I am interested in what's going on. Now his brothers had gone to graze their father's flocks near Shechem, and Israel said to Joseph, as you know, your brothers are grazing the flocks near Shechem. Come, and I'm going to send you to them. Very well, he replied. So he said to him, go and see if all is well with your brothers and with the flocks, and bring word back to me. Okay, pretty easy job. Can you go do that? Then he sent him off from the valley of Hebron. When Joseph arrived at Shechem, a man found him wandering around in the fields and asked him, what are you looking for? See, this is interesting because Christmas is going to be coming, and I'm going to be standing in Walmart doing this, looking for a gift from my wife, a small gift. That's not where I shop for my big gifts, okay? And I go in there, and I know somebody's going to come up, excuse me, sir, do you need help? You kind of just look like you're lost. Well, see, Joseph is going to look for his brothers, and he's like, they said they were here. I'm kind of lost. So that's why this guy comes up and says, so what are you looking for? He replied, I'm looking for my brothers. Can you tell me where they're grazing their flocks? And so he said, they've moved on from here. The man answered, they were here. They moved on. I heard them say, let's go to Dothan. So Joseph went after his brothers and found them near Dothan. But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him. Remember how hatred turned to jealousy, and jealousy starts turning into action? Okay, so now this action is starting. So Joseph's walking along the road. They can see him from a distance, but obviously far enough away, close enough to know it's Joseph, far enough away to start plotting to kill him. So they start murmuring to each other like, okay, what are we going to do? We got to put this guy away. Here comes that dreamer, they yell out. Every good brother has a nickname for their siblings, right? And so you can sense, there's this attitude with it. Oh, that dreamer. Here comes that dreamer. So they say that to each other. Come now, let's kill him and throw him into one of the cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams. So now their plot, because of their jealousy and their hatred, is moving in to killing him. That's pretty extreme. But they don't want to get caught. They don't want it to point back to them. No. So we have to come up with a good story, a foolproof story for Dad to make sure it doesn't happen. So we're going to say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Well, when Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. Let's not take his life, he said. Hold on, guys, we're a little bit extreme. There's some courage coming from Reuben, right? Reuben's like, let's just hold on for a second. Let's just think this through. Let's not take his life. Finally, somebody's thinking clearly, right? Don't shed any blood. Throw him into the cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him. So Reuben's like, okay, I got to come up with a plan that I won't get in trouble, but also that I can save Joseph. And so he says, don't shed any blood. Just throw him in there. That'll get that out of your system. You don't have to kill him. There, your anger, it's all gone. And then he's starting to think, okay, then I can come up with a plan. Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father. He's like, okay, you throw him in there. I'll come back later. I'll get Joseph out. I'll take him back to Dad. No harm, no foul. So when Joseph came to his brothers, they stripped him of his robe. Remember that robe that Dad handcrafted in love, embroidered? They ripped it from him. That was a constant reminder in their face that Dad loves Joseph more than us. So they want to get rid of that, the ordinate robe that he was wearing. And they took him and threw him into the cistern. The cistern was empty, and there was no water in it. I'm not quite sure how deep the cistern was, but I'll tell you what, with no water in it, there's a bit of out going all the way down. And so I'm sure Joseph definitely has pain, definitely mad at his brothers, and Reuben's going, okay, this is the best I can do for you. And as they sat down to eat their meal, they looked up and saw a caravan of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead. Their camels were loaded with spices, balm, and myrrh, and they were on their way to take them down to Egypt. Judah said to his brothers, "What will we gain if we kill our brother and cover up his blood?" Okay, it's not enough just to seek out this jealousy and to kill him or to change the plan and throw him in the cistern. Now I have to gain something from this? This is some evil stuff going on. Come, let's sell him to the Ishmaelites and not lay our hands on him. After all, he is our brother, our own flesh and blood. And his brothers agreed. So when the Midianite merchants came by, his brothers pulled Joseph up out of the cistern and sold him for 20 shekels in silver to the Ishmaelites, who took him to Egypt. When Reuben returned, who wasn't with them when that happened, when Reuben returned to the cistern and saw that Joseph was not there, he tore his clothes. He ripped his clothes. I don't know if you've gotten mad or disappointed lately that you ripped your clothes. We say, I pulled my hair out, right? But he got so just, I can't believe this happened. He had what he thought was a foolproof plan. And he had no plan B. And so when they took Joseph without Reuben knowing, and they sold him off, he's wondering where he is. He tears his clothes. He went back to his brothers and said, "The boy isn't there. Where can I turn now?" He's not impressed. Then they got Joseph's robe. They slaughtered a goat, because remember, they still have to convince Dad that he was taken by a ferocious animal. So they got Joseph's robe, slaughtered a goat, and dipped the robe in blood. They took the ordinate robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it's your son's robe." Okay, they know, right? They're trying to pull one over Dad's eyes. They're like, okay, this plan has to work. So we're going to try to fool him. So they dip it in. They're like, instead of saying, this is his robe, then there'd be a lot more questions. Well, why is his robe? How did you find this? If it was just a random robe, then they don't know anything that happened either. So they're going to let Dad come to the conclusion. Examine it to see whether it's your son's robe. Well, he recognized it and said, "It is my son's robe. Some ferocious animal has devoured him. Joseph has surely been torn to pieces." Could you imagine the brothers looking, behind Dad's back going, "We did it. We did it. We tricked him. Good. The plan was locked in place." Right? He fell for it. They're so concerned about their own sake that Dad has a totally different approach. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put on sackcloth, and mourned his son for many days. I don't know what it was, but people tore clothes a lot. Okay, just like, And sackcloth, that is not a attire that you wear. That is something you put on and just show that I've been stripped of everything. And he mourned his son for days. All his sons and daughters came to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. "No," he said, "I will continue to mourn until I join my son in the grave." So his father wept for him. And the last verse says, "Meanwhile, the Midianites sold Joseph in Egypt to Potiphar." So they took him down into Egypt. They get to Egypt where Pharaoh is. They sell him off to Potiphar. Potiphar is one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard. Well, that's interesting. And of all the people that he could have been sold to, obviously somebody had to be of some value. People that were poor couldn't buy. So he's like, Potiphar, one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, purchases Joseph. Next week, we're going to zoom in on Potiphar, and we're going to realize what is going on and how come poor Joseph just can't seem to get a break. But what I want to kind of focus on is this. There's 3 lessons that I learned coming out of this story that we're going to get a little bit of foreshadowing on, is this. That Joseph, in spite of that bad situation, life hit hard. Life hit hard, and he has a choice to give up, to quit, or to persevere. And what we talked about at the very beginning is to persevere with purpose. When we persevere with purpose, It's a game changer. And so here's lesson number 1. God is present in our problems. Okay, listen to me in this. God is present in our problems. See, Joseph didn't know Reuben was fighting for him. Joseph didn't know Reuben was trying to come up with a plan, even though it was a sucky one to Joseph, to fall down a cistern, to be thrown down. He said, I'll come back later, I'll get you. But Joseph didn't know that. So Reuben was on his side, even though it didn't look like it. And I'm sure there are people that are on our side that we may not just really be in the know. Somebody's praying for you. Somebody's helping you out. Somebody's willing to go the mile with you. And we think sometimes that we're all alone. We think that we're just battling this ourselves. But we do know, and Scripture proves it, that God is present in our problems. Actually, Psalm 23 says this. I love this. This is a passage we know well. It's been said a lot, Psalm 23, but we'll just focus on verse 4. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. For you are with me, your rod and staff, they comfort me. We know that Jesus, another name for Jesus is Emmanuel. And Emmanuel is what? God with us. We know that God is for us, God is with us, and if God is with us, then He is present when we have problems too, right? And so God is present in our problems. Sometimes our problems give us pain. Pastor Craig Rochelle of Life Church, the Bible app that we have on our devices, his church developed that. He says this, it's not that people don't like pain, they don't like pain without purpose. See, if you're running a marathon, okay, nobody says, I'm going to run a marathon because I'm bored today, okay? Some people may do, but they are special, okay? They are very unique, they're just amazing. But when we run a marathon, it's like, okay, I have goals that I achieve. I'm going to put my body through this, my mind through this. There's a purpose behind that. And so when we push through these things, we do it with purpose. And Joseph knew to follow God, knew God was a priority, and knew even in his pain, God was with him. And we're going to see a lot more tangibly in the next chapters come over the next few weeks. The second lesson I want to take note of that I kind of got from this is this. Sometimes God's preparation comes packaged as pain. Sometimes God's preparation comes packaged as pain. Let me tell it this way. Jesus came to earth. Jesus, God's Son, came to earth, lived a life, and at the end was put on a cross, wrongfully accused to carry the weight, the sin of the world. Okay, if you think sometimes God's preparation doesn't come as pain, then what was Jesus doing? Jesus had to carry a lot of pain, endure a lot of pain for us. But it's God's preparation. Hebrews 12, 1-3 says this. This is great. Hebrews 12, 1-3 says, therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart. Jesus did that. Let's not grow weary. Let's not lose heart. Sometimes God's preparation comes as pain. And the third one is this. Perseverance takes courage. Perseverance takes courage. The biggest challenge I find isn't the knowledge of right and wrong. It's the courage to do what's right. Right? You ask any kid, they know what's right and what's wrong. Whether they do what's right or what's wrong is a different story. But it's having the courage to do what's right. And when you're raising kids, it's teaching them not just this is what's right, but this is why it's right. Because when you teach them the why behind things, you're giving them the knowledge to be able to build courage to do what's right. And I think we all need a little more courage in our life. And so we believe perseverance takes courage. Think of Reuben we just read about. Reuben had to stand up against the brothers, okay? A pack of guys that want to now kill Joseph. And Reuben goes, okay, let's not kill him. So there's some courage there, right, to stand up against them. What if we do this? Instead of just saying, don't touch them, he was trying to come up with a plan that they could still get their revenge out, but it would still protect Joseph, and he was trying to mediate between those. And some of us in our families are mediators, or maybe in our workplace. We're trying to find that perfect balance to say, okay, you can have a little bit of what you want, and you're going to have a little bit. It's never the perfect solution, but the courage to do what's right. And so with courage, I want to give us a little bit more personal example. And so a few weeks ago, Art and Peggy McLean, who are with us today, a few weeks ago, we interviewed them along with a few others. We talked about how God was showing up even when life hit hard. And we know that when life hits hard, we can quit, we can persevere. But when you persevere on purpose, it changes everything. And with Peggy and Art, life hit hard. Cancer diagnosed, a fire happened, lost retirement. There's just a lot of stuff that can happen. But at the end of the day, they shared their story. And I want to thank them personally for doing that, because there's a courage level to, one, say things out loud, right? When you speak it out loud, you make it real. And when you speak it out loud, you say, okay, maybe God can do something here. I'm not saying it to boast. I'm saying it simply, God is up to something through me, and I want to give him all the praise and all the glory for that. And I want to say, okay, I want to interview them, and I want to say, okay, now a few weeks later, what has God done now that you've showed the courage and started sharing your story? We've saw it on Facebook and on YouTube being shared and spread, and more people are seeing it across the country and are being encouraged, and they're being built up to persevere. So I want to show you this short little interview with them this morning.
All right, guys, we are talking all things perseverance, but I want to focus a little bit on perseverance that needs to show courage. And a few weeks ago, you guys have shared your story with us. It's now on our YouTube channel. It's been viewed by a lot of people. A lot of people have also just shared it with a lot of people because it was so encouraging to them. But a lot of people have reached out to you as well and just connect with you and thank you so much. But there's been some stories that have come out of it that people have really, it helped them in their next step, because your mom would have said what?
It's all part of the plan.
It's all part of the plan. And we don't know what the plan is at the time, but we know when we persevere and we have that courage to persevere, that God will reveal his plan to us when he needs to. So, Peggy, let's just zoom in a little bit on your story and kind of what has impacted some other people through that.
Sure. Well, as you know, I've been public about my journey with breast cancer, and I've had two women reach out to me. I've had many, but two women in particular, and one shared with me that she, because of my story, went and was checked, and unfortunately she too was diagnosed with breast cancer, but because they caught it early, that she's going to have a great prognosis. So, you know, I've always believed that we go through something in life for a reason, and if it can help one other person, then that's been worth it.
That's amazing, just to be able to encourage them to say, no, if somebody else did that and they can do it, then I need to step up and do that. So, and that's the stories we hear of, right? There's other stories that we don't even know of, and so thank you just for sharing that. Art, what's in your world? What has impacted since the last time we've talked in the interview?
Like I told Peggy following the video being posted, I was shocked at the response. Everywhere I went, it seemed like every day I went out, someone would say, I viewed the video, it's amazing, it's so positive and inspiring. And one officer said to me, he said, by coming forward with post-traumatic stress, he said it gave me an option to look at myself and for me to go get help. Because as police officers, you're always in control of the situation. You respond to a traumatic event, you control the situation, and you're supposed to be able to take it all and handle it all and go home and turn it off. By coming out and being honest and saying, listen, you know, I struggled and I have to trust in God. I have to trust in myself and do the work. And it's difficult, but we have to truly believe it's all part of God's plan, and we have to trust in that and believe in that. And when you truly believe it's part of the plan, it just makes it so much easier, and you don't sweat the small stuff, because, you know, with God we can get through anything, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, we don't want to. Worry can suck us down. It can swipe us sideways. And so at the end of the day, just to be able to say, I'm going to show courage and be vulnerable and tell part of my story. That is huge. A lot of people don't want to, you know, they know it might be the right thing to do, but the courage to do that, the courage to admit, you know, some situations. But, you know, from a few weeks ago, just to be able to do that, and to keep persevering. Your story's not over, your journey's not over, right? And yet the people that are being impacted by them, and I just love the spin-off that the people that are impacted by your story will have an impact hopefully on other people, right? And so I just think it's so important that when we persevere on purpose, right? If we don't know the purpose in which we're going in, then we can just say, this is too hard, it's not worth it. And in your situation, you could say, it's too hard, I'm just out. But to say, no, there's a purpose to this, and I'm going to persevere on that, and the same with yours. So thank you so much, guys, for sharing and kind of give us an update on how you can impact people just by persevering and having a bit of courage in that.
Thank you.
Thank you
for allowing us to share our story.
As we finish up, we'll invite the band here in a second to close. I have a few questions that I've wrestled with personally, and I want to share with you. So answer this in your head. Do you sometimes feel God isn't present? Don't say it out loud. Just internally process this. Do you sometimes feel God isn't present? See, God is present in our problems. God is present in our problems. Do you wish you had better circumstances? Do you wish the circumstances you were dealt with, the cards you were dealt with, are just different? Sometimes God's preparation comes packaged as pain. We saw that with Jesus. Don't worry. Okay, take heart. Do you have a tough situation that is coming your way? Is there something coming up that's just really wearing you down? Is there something tough? Perseverance takes courage. So show courage. Perseverance takes courage. So let me ask this question. This series is called What's Next? We're going to find out next week what's next with Joseph as he now meets Potiphar, and we start seeing some more story untold. But out of this perseverance, what's next for us? What's next? How can we have courage in that? Maybe it's, I need to get closer to God. I need to pause more. I'm running around. I'm constantly doing a bunch of stuff. I need to slow down. Maybe it's, I have too much time on my hands. I need to surround myself with other people that are edifying, uplifting me. Maybe I just need to get into God's Word. Hearing Joseph's story, I'm intrigued to read more. I want to learn more. I need to read God's Word. Maybe it's I just need to be surrounded by the church more. I need to make sure I tune in more regularly. I need to be here in person more regularly. Maybe I'm angry. Maybe there's just something. I'm just angry and I can't let go of something. Well, I relate not with Joseph, but with the brothers more. Maybe that's who you relate with, and you just realize, I have some anger I have to deal with because hatred turned to jealousy, and jealousy turned to plotting, and plotting turned to trying to kill Joseph. I would never do anything crazy like that. At the end of the day, we all have the ability to do anything. And so, what is the purpose we're moving forward to? Maybe we need to a little bit realize there's a few Reubens in our lives that are trying to help us and run with us. I'm going to end with this, reading James chapter 1, verse 2 and 4. Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. See, we persevere with a purpose. I would love to be mature and complete, but recognizing that faith produces perseverance. So I close with this. God wants to use you. God wants to use me. He believes in you. We believe in you. He wants to use you. Have courage, find purpose, because perseverance with purpose changes everything. Let's stand together and pray, and then we'll close in a song. God, we thank you for this moment. We thank you for who you are. God, you are a God that we look at Joseph, we see his life, and we know that you are there. God, he has a dream, and we're going to find it over the next few weeks what you were up to in his life. God, even when people were against, his own brothers were against him, we can relate with that maybe. Maybe there's situations here that there's some family problems that are happening. Maybe we just need to realize that, God, you are in our problems. You are journeying with us. You are with us. You are present in our problems. And God, sometimes we package pain as part of that journey of trying to persevere, that you prepare us for something better. But God, you don't just exclude pain from the process. It actually is part of testing our faith. And God, we need courage more than ever. Courage to stand up, to do what's right. Courage to lead and be an example to the people around us, at home, at work, wherever the case may be. God, give us the courage that we need in the situations we need it in, to do the right thing. God, we thank you for this moment. As we sing, we just want to lift up and praise you for who you are and helping us journey through this week. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.